Now it's time for Movie Friends with your hosts Micheal and Seth. We're talking film without pretension. We're finding cats that are unexpected. We'll watch a movie, film, or schmovie, and we want you to join our journey. So subscribe and share this podcast, or this might just be the last of the Movie Friends. We're movie friends. We want to be your movie friends.
Welcome to New Release Review, part of the Movie Friends podcast. My name is Seth. Today we're discussing Sacramento from 2024, directed by Micheal Angarano. We will be discussing spoilers throughout the whole episode, so if you haven't seen Sacramento, please press pause, go watch the movie, and then come back and listen. Today, joining me for surprisingly somehow the first time is Marley Silverbrand. He's the host of the Real Lovers podcast. Marley, how are you?
I'm doing great, Seth. It's a pleasure to be on New Release Review. I've kind of bounced around your podcast in other forms, like on Patreon, and you've been on my podcast as well. We talked about some M. Night Shyamalan films, and
Yeah.
yeah. But it's always a pleasure to talk movies with you.
Yes. Hey, right back at you. Why don't you explain for people who might not be familiar with your show what you do over there?
Yeah, my name's Marley, as Seth already explained. I host the Real Lovers podcast, and we cover all of the movies in the Letterboxd Top 250. That's one of the series that we're doing. The most recent episode that's out right now is Spirited Away. It's probably one of my favorite Miyazaki films, for sure. And then I'm also covering all of M. Night Shyamalan's films in a retrospective series that we're doing on that. And Seth, you're actually that episode's going to be dropping the same time as this episode. So
Whoa, very
yeah.
cool.
So if you didn't get enough of Seth and me, then you can hop on over to my feed and check us out, talk about The Happening. So
The Happening, one of my favorite Shyamalan films.
Yes.
Yeah, on Spirited Away, I just recently rewatched a few Ghibli films with my kids, and watching Spirited Away, it was me, my 11-year-old, and my 4-year-old, and it worked on all ages. We were all really into it, and I think I tweeted something like, it goes without saying, but Spirited Away is still really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it always feels like, oh, that's kind of like the basic answer, but it's so great.
I feel like I've released that episode at kind of like the right time, just because that's like with all the memes coming out about people using AI to recreate Ghibli, and I'm like,
horrible,
gross. Watch this movie instead.
Yes,
So,
yes. Yeah. No, thank you to the AI stuff. And you know what was kind of refreshing was watching Sacramento.
Yeah, well, maybe refreshing for you, but since I'm from Sacramento,
right?
I'm like, oh yeah, I know that place.
Well, I say refreshing because today a lot of the films that are coming out are filled with CGI stuff and big budget whatevers, and this felt like a nice, simple, well-made movie, but without, I guess I'll say, the handprint of our current day and style. Like, part of me felt like I was watching a movie from the 70s as I watched this.
Yeah.
Just good dialogue, interesting characters.
Yeah, I agree. It reminded me of like those 70s movies, but also I'm not sure if you saw Real Pain from last year too.
I actually haven't seen it yet. I I'm gonna love it. I'm sure it's great, but yeah.
Well, if you love Sacramento, then I think A Real Pain, those are kind of nice companion pieces there.
Yeah,
because they're both kind of road trip movies and both
sure
about kind of like mid-30s adults kind of struggling with like pain in their lives and their anxiety. And I think A Real Pain is a little bit better written than Sacramento. I don't think Sacramento is like a bad written film. It's just it, I don't know. I just think that I don't know. They're nice companion pieces.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So just general feelings for you. I know a little bit about how you feel about the film because we spoke a little bit, but
Yeah.
how did you find Sacramento?
No, I actually really enjoyed Sacramento to be honest. Like especially living in Sacramento for about 8 years now, almost 10 years. It's always kind of nice seeing kind of like people from the outside like come make a movie here because
Hmm.
I actually remember seeing them film this movie and seeing Michael Cera and Michael Erganano. Is that it? How you say it?
Angarano.
Angarano. Yeah.
Angarano? I'm not
And
sure.
yeah, one of those two. One of
Yeah.
those two. But I saw them like filming over down by the Sacramento River in Old Sacramento,
Nice.
which where most of the scenes actually took place. Well, they took place in Old Sacramento and then also in Land Park, kind of in the southern part of Sacramento. So it's always nice seeing kind of like movies like this that are kind of like huge tent, like not necessarily tentpole films, but it's like it's not like a student film or something like that,
Sure.
or
Right.
Lady Bird, because Lady Bird was also famously shot here in Sacramento. And while I'm probably not the biggest fan of Lady Bird, I think that being here from Sacramento is kind of very. I would say it's just got oversaturated here because that's all people
Interesting.
talked about. But
Right.
so it's nice to have like a competitor now. So
That's funny because honestly, I don't even remember if the Lady Bird took place in Sacramento. So, but I
mhm,
also haven't revisited that probably since I saw it in theaters, and
mhm.
I really liked it. I mean, Saoirse Ronan is like incredible.
Yeah. That movie's good. It's just like I said, it's just a little oversaturated. And I feel like this one, it kind of appeals to like my sensibilities too, as like I said, living in Sacramento, struggling with anxiety. So it's like
Hmm.
so it's also in my mid 30s, struggling with anxiety, and it's just
Hmm.
like it feels like it was almost made for me in a way. Like,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I thought it was like a really nice film for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect. I'd learned nothing about this movie
Hmm.
before going to see it because there was only one thing that I needed to get me into that theater, and that is Micheal Angarano,
Hmm.
who co-wrote and directed this. He stars in this. I love this guy. Like he's just one of my favorite understated actors, I guess I would say. And so it was such a pleasure to watch this where very he's very much in the forefront and he's playing such a goofy guy.
Hmm.
So this is I was like, oh man, I love everything about this. So I didn't know what the story was. I didn't know what the plot was. I vaguely knew that Kristen Stewart was in it. I think I knew that Michael Cera was in it, but all I needed, just put that name,
Hmm.
directed by, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be there. That's my guy. That's he stars in one of my favorite comedies ever, which is a Jared Hess film, Gentlemen Broncos,
Hmm.
which Jared Hess is all up in the headlines right now
Yeah.
for the Minecraft movie.
I had no idea I'd be talking about Minecraft like mid-April. I thought
Hmm.
that movie would come out and we would just forget about it, but
Hmm.
it seems like no matter where we go, that movie just keeps appearing. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, I mean, I saw it. I had a good time with it. I thought it was a lot funnier than I expected it to be. But like he's in a lot of stuff that I wish people were more familiar with. There's a great film from 2017 directed by Jennifer Morrison, who's an actress. People I think maybe more familiar with her as an actress, but there's a film called Sundogs.
Mm-hmm.
He stars in that. So good. So good. I think a lot of people would recognize him from playing the younger version of the main character in Almost Famous. He was in Red State, The Forbidden Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Sky High is a
Yeah,
big
Sky
one
High.
for people of a certain age. And then last year, he was also in Kevin Costner's Horizon: An American Saga Chapter 1. And I was so excited to see him in that. He was great. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I love this guy. And I'm very pleased that even though I went in knowing nothing about it,
Mm-hmm.
that I found his performance really great and I found the movie really great, you know?
Mm-hmm. I actually thought it was funnier than I thought it was going to be because
Absolutely.
leading up to it, the promos leading up to it, and what Michael always like described it as like, oh, this is super bad for anxiety-ridden 30-year-olds,
Mm,
and
mhm,
I'm like,
mhm,
okay, like that's a way to sell your movie,
mhm.
and I was actually pleasantly surprised how laugh out loud funny this was.
I
Mainly,
thought it, yeah. I I watch a lot of comedies. I love comedy. And you know how sometimes you're watching a movie that's really funny, but you don't laugh out loud,
hmm
you know? You'll come to the end of the movie like, wow, that was really funny. I laughed twice. I was laughing out loud almost immediately and then through
hmm
the whole thing. And my whole theater was laughing out loud.
oh,
Like
that's great.
we were all yucking it up. And I took note of like the demographics of the people who were in the theater. And it was kind of like if you made like a diagram of like 20 people and tried to include as many different ages and people groups in it as
hmm
possible. But we all had a good time. And when the credits ended, this old man towards the front of the theater, as soon as the credits started, he stood up and turned around to the whole theater and said, all right, everybody, we're all going to take a road trip to Sacramento now. And everyone laughed. They were like, ah, ha, 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 ha. And then he kept going on. And I was like, too much, man. you should have stopped when you were ahead.
Just stop. That's funny though. I like that reaction though. Like that kind of brings up a question that I've been that I'll ask you is like after seeing this movie, do you actually want to visit Sacramento? Like
Not in particular.
you're like the movie was enough.
Yeah, the
90
movie was
minute
enough.
movie, that's enough.
Why? Hey, why do I need to go? I lived it, baby. through a movie.
I know what respect
Yeah,
because
yeah. No, I'm
Sacramento
sure it's a fine place.
Sacramento is a fine place. It's just it's got its problems. Just like
Hmm.
just like every other
Sure,
town
every
and
other American city.
yep. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So I agree. It's very funny, and I found it to be like laugh out loud funny,
hmm
and definitely as the movie progressed, more people laughed as they I think had to like get onto the wavelength. And luckily for me, I was able to grab it right away. I think that it does say some smart things. Some things it's saying very overtly. Some things are a little bit more sly, especially all the stuff about Michael Cera's character, where Kristen Stewart's character is just like, I actually would prefer if you weren't around and like maybe go have some fun. And that was pretty good. And then when they have their kind of like face off conversation after Ricky dumps the fake ashes,
Oh,
which I thought was awesome. And Michael Cera's character, Glenn, he's like, all right, let's sit down and let's really talk about this. I know that you're lying. They have a kind of like emotionally enlightened man argument that
hmm
I just found to be so funny,
yeah.
because it's like they're using all of these terms and tools and like positioning, but they don't get anywhere.
Yeah. I like how
And they're talking
Ricky's
about like, you're gaslighting me,
and then Ricky is like, oh, just defining gaslighting, and they're just kind of like going back
mm-hmm.
and forth. It's real funny. And then my favorite thing, like after like they dump like this Ricky's like supposedly dad's ashes, which like I thought like because like the whole reason why they make this trip to Sacramento is because Ricky says that his dad just died and he wants to go spread his ashes in Sacramento, even though his dad isn't from Sacramento. He's never been to Sacramento like what's at all, and his dad's actually died like a year before. He still had his ashes in the back of his car.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I thought I'm like I was a little bit confused about that like toward the end. That I thought
Mm-hmm.
like you're just holding on to ashes like that. I guess that's cool. I guess I'm like sentimental.
I did like that reveal because it's
Hmm.
exactly what you just said. He has actually been holding on to this,
Hmm.
but it's so like deep inside and something that he doesn't want to deal with. And we see that from the beginning because when he's in the group therapy,
Hmm.
he's trying to help everyone except for himself. And like he
Hmm.
won't he won't go through the process. But again, he thinks that he's this like emotionally enlightened modern man,
Hmm.
and so he's able to help like the older generation. The point of the plot, quote unquote, is going to dump these ashes,
Hmm.
and it never occurs to him to actually do it because that would mean that he would actually have to like say
Do something.
goodbye and
Yeah.
finalize this thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I liked that, and again it's kind of subtle, um and it's done, I think, a little humorously.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
But the funny thing I liked about when Glenn like he confronts him about dumping like the dirt onto the Sacramento pier. He's like,
Hmm.
my grandmother, she was cremated. I know that there's no freaking Snickers bar, Snickers.
Yes. Yes. Human
uh,
remains don't have trash in them.
like
Yes.
Ricky, you didn't do the due diligence to.
Right.
I know he's like, obviously it's like that wasn't important at the time. He was just trying to get Glenn to go on this road trip, but
Right.
I, and also I like the whole bit too because this is something that Californians do, like especially before I moved to Sacramento. The I-5 Sacramento, like that's like a I-5 North Sacramento. That's a common freeway
Hmm.
that stretches across pretty much multiple states. But I-5 Sacramento is very it's a it's pretty much everyone sees it. So, but we all kind of have like that. Oh, let's road trip to Sacramento. I've never
Mm.
heard of that before. So hearing that line, like in the movie where they're like, "Oh, let's road trip to Sacramento," just because they saw the sign that they knew
Right.
nothing about it, and Michael Cera's character basically saying like, I don't want to go to a town I never heard of that I'm
Hmm.
not.
Hmm.
It's that was a pretty funny line too. So.
I liked this movie a lot because it reminded me of my best friend that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately for me and for him, I'm definitely more of the Ricky character. So this was quite painful. Like just showing up unannounced and like hiding in a tree because it's a funny bit to like scare your best friend.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, it's different seeing this from the other side.
Right. I just love the way Glenn was just in the house and he was like hiding, and
Hmm.
Kristen Stewart's character is basically, "What are you doing? Just go say
Hmm.
hi to him." Like he's your
And
best friend. I'm like,
he's so tense that he just like shatters a plate with
yeah,
his bare hands. I thought it was great. And like again, like you could dwell on all of those things and really like pull them apart. But I think why the script works well is because we just kind of show this stuff and then move on. And we
mhm,
don't really dwell. And even the moments where we are like having what you think are going to be like heart to heart moments aren't really, and most of them just turn into jokes. I think
yeah,
the only moment of like any real true emotion is when Ricky is at the lake again with the ashes and actually spreads them, and then that's when he breaks down. But yeah, okay, so Micheal Angarano as Ricky.
Mhm.
How did you feel about him?
Well, I'm definitely very intrigued to see more of what he does like in his career, and just I want to explore more of his filmography.
Mhm.
But I mentioned A Real Pain, how this film feels very similar to A Real Pain. I feel like what Micheal Angarano is doing is basically what Kieran Culkin did in A Real Pain. Very, very similar kind of like archetypes, especially for Michael Cera's character as well. I don't know. I just like their dynamic. It's just
Mhm.
real funny just that I saw both those movies pretty close together, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty similar. But
Mhm.
uh, a lot of people say that that could be a bad thing, but I think it's just they're companion pieces. They work together.
Sure.
So
Sure. Sure. What I was pleased to see was Angarano pulling out his physical comedy,
mm-hmm,
and it's not all the time. Like he's not a silly, Three Stooges movie, but
mm-hmm.
just simple little things like when he takes the container of tennis balls, and then he's running across the parking lot and just like frantically like emptying out the balls as he's running.
Yeah.
That really really got me. The tree thing, just
The
little bits and pieces. He's very, I think, very very talented at being funny with his body.
Yeah, I agree. There, especially like towards the end of the movie, where they're when Ricky is chasing down Glenn because he's taken that
Oh
like
god.
that scene could have been like the worst and most tense thing ever. But the way Michael Angarano is like running and like with the scooters too, it's
Uh-huh.
so like
Uh-huh.
scooters are a big thing like here in Sacramento too. So it was nice to see that little shout out. But I
Mm-hmm.
I like how he, was that his ex girlfriend? I was a
Mm-hmm.
little bit confused by that, but
Yeah, so
Tally.
that's Tally,
Hmm.
played by Maya Erskine,
Hmm.
who is married to Angarano in real life. And she is hilarious.
Hmm.
Have you seen Pen 15?
I've seen the first few episodes of that,
Yes,
and
that
it's real great. It's real great.
her and Anna Konkle play teenagers, and then all the other teenagers are like actually
Yeah.
it's so funny. Um, but yeah, so that's who he meets at the beginning of the movie, and
Hmm.
they get together, but then part ways.
Hmm.
And so there's a real kind of circular thing going on where he meets her there at the lake. They conceive a child
Yeah.
there, a son, and then he goes back to the same place to scatter his dad's ashes. So he's, Glenn. What Glenn is going through in the movie is so like in our face, and
Hmm.
we know that his anxiety is about becoming a father for the first time.
Hmm.
And Ricky's story takes a little bit longer to like fully reveal itself.
Hmm.
And you learn that he's going through the same thing while also dealing with like letting go of his dad as he's becoming a dad. Where, if everyone had a perfect life as you're becoming a dad, you'd be able to go to your dad and be like, hey, dad, how do I be a dad? Right.
Right.
And Ricky doesn't have either of those things because he's lost his father and he's given up, any responsibility with this child, which I was like, man, what a if you wanted someone to like your character, maybe don't make him a total jerk who skips out on the woman that he got pregnant and
Yep.
then isn't supporting an infant child.
Yeah, and I feel like Glenn's character, like when that is revealed, like when they go see like his ex, and just Michael Cera, just his acting right there where he's just glaring at
Mm-hmm.
Ricky like the entire time. I that's perfect just because it's almost like Michael Cera was playing like the audience at that point, because
Right.
the audience should be doing the same thing. Like, what are you doing? You're like this this woman that you supposedly loved. You just left her be in Sacramento raising a child by herself. And she worked at the ice cream shop like
Mm-hmm.
in Land Park. Forget the name of that ice cream shop, but it's a very famous ice cream shop. It was like
Mm.
made it opened up in the 50s, and it's like this,
Oh, nice.
everyone goes there. But it was nice seeing that that little landmark as well. But
Yeah, and like I got the sense that Ricky has some money in the bank.
mhm,
You know, he fixes up the old car for like $5,000. He doesn't seem to be concerned about money or, like how they're going to get anywhere at all. Where again, like Glenn is losing his job and he is worried about finances.
mhm.
So,
Well, he's not worried about money at all, just because he literally like got the got their car impounded. It was like, don't worry, we'll pick it up on Monday.
right, right. So that made it even worse because it's like, all right, you have money. You could at least, at a minimum, be supporting this
Mhm.
child financially.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? So that was a huge, huge swing of like, if you're not into this guy at this point, when you find this out, I mean, and I was into him, and then when I found that, I was like, oh my God, he's a horrible person, it turns
He's
out.
he's immature. He's immature
Yeah.
just because he just wanted to hang out uh with Glenn. Like,
Yeah.
he was ignoring his responsibilities and didn't want to grow up. But throughout the like by the end of this movie, he's somewhat grown up. Like, he's he's
It's
coming
like,
to terms with his responsibilities that he has. And
right.
yeah.
That's a good big question mark because in my experience, people don't change overnight. People can change.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I've changed. I've seen other people change. And you're like, wow, you really pulled it together. But it doesn't usually happen over one one road trip to Sacramento.
Well, to push back a little bit on that, I've had friends like Ricky, like growing up, and probably some of my favorite experiences like in college and in high school is us taking like the car and just driving down to Modesto,
Hmm.
California, and going to the closest In and Out. At least
Sure.
I think the last time, I think the one time we did that, it was like midnight, and we drove down to get there before it closed at 2 in the morning, and we got there at like 1:50. And I will say I was a changed human being after that,
You think?
just because of the conversations that we had and the jokes
Sure,
that we
sure.
had. And granted, I didn't have like the baggage that Ricky that Ricky had in
Sure.
this movie, but it's I can I can say, like, when you're kind of like in that environment, like pretty much a not solitary environment, but just you and your best friend, especially on a 6 hour road trip. There's a lot of things that you can talk about, and I kind of wish that the movie dived more into that. Like, um, maybe had some conversations, kind of like a Tommy Boy esque kind of
Sure.
like road trip or something like that, where you kind of have them getting into escapades, because it's really, they start driving to Sacramento and they get off on the like that rest stop, and then after that it's just kind of like montage like here and there. I
Mm,
understand it's like a indie movie, it's small budget movie, so they probably didn't have the funds to kind of go on like these grand adventures, but I don't know. It's I would have liked more kind of like stuff on the actual road trip, but because they got the Sacramento real fast, to be honest.
sure, sure, sure. So kind of left behind, but we
Hmm.
get to cut into her a few times, or but we get to cut over to her a few times in the film.
Hmm.
Kristen Stewart as Rosie. How'd you feel about her?
Um, well, she was kind of like the selling point that I was. Michael Cera and Kristen Stewart were the two selling points for me.
Wow.
I
Okay.
was honestly, I love Kristen Stewart. I think she's really great. I thought she was kind of weak in this movie, to be honest, because
Really?
she's not necessarily in the movie all that much because
Yeah.
it's more about kind of Ricky and Glenn, and she's kind of pushed to the side a little bit. I think she's great because even when Kristen Stewart isn't that great, she's still pretty great if
Yeah.
that makes any sense. But I don't know. I just thought some of her humor just didn't really come across, and she's not really like Kristen Stewart isn't really known for comedic roles all that much. I'm not sure if she was like if she felt comfortable like filming this at all, but yeah. Like I think probably the funniest things that that came from her is like when Glenn walks into the house and she's like obviously working from home and just having her
Oh,
just type at the keyboard.
oh my
So
God.
it kind of brutal. Just I don't know. I don't. I want to know what she was typing because it was
Right.
like she was typing so hard and just like it's just yeah. It was just kind of real funny comedic bit in a way.
That was painful.
Hmm.
My wife works from home
Hmm.
typing at a computer. And just as soon as he entered the room, I was like, dude, leave, please. You are absolutely killing me. I liked her in this, and I actually thought it was a good reminder of like how talented she is
Hmm.
because Rosie, she's a supporting character, right? She's not one of the main focuses of the film, and yet in the scenes that Stewart is in, I feel like she's, filling up the whole room
Hmm.
and filling up all of her lines quite well. And I was like, oh man, she is I don't know. I'm on team Kristen Stewart is a great actress.
Hmm.
Um, which, thankfully as time goes on,
Hmm.
that's less and less of a conversation and
Yeah.
just something that's understood. But yeah, I enjoyed her in this, and I kind of was like, man, I kind of wish that we had more, more with her, while also understanding that that's not what this movie is.
Yeah, I'm not saying she was bad in it. I think I was. I think my expectations were pretty high for her, so
Mm,
I was just kind of one. I expected more of her, like more like in the scenes and just more in the movie too.
hmm
Like I kind of in a way, it's kind of messed up to be honest. Like she's real pregnant in this movie,
hmm
and I understand that she was. Is it Rosie? Rosie?
Yes.
Yeah, I understand Rosie was just trying to get Glenn out of the house because just because he's like a sad sack, depressed, anxiety ridden, like husband at this point. But she could deliver anytime. I think I think Glenn sh- uh, should be there for his wife. But I don't know. It's just yeah, maybe
I mean, absolutely.
yeah.
And what's sick is that he thinks that he is. Like, he thinks that he is there. He thinks destroying a crib by hand
Yeah.
is being a great help.
Yeah, because I was a little bit confused by that, but it was also pretty funny the way he like he just didn't put together the crib correctly, so he
Yeah.
was like having anxiety about oh what if the crib falls apart and my uh and
Well, I mean, I can tell you, like, when you have kids, if you were not an anxious person before, it is very hard not to give into
mhm,
those things because it's 9 months of anticipation and stress and worry, and it's like, okay,
mhm,
is everything gonna go? Is everything gonna go okay? Is everything gonna go okay? And then everything goes okay or it doesn't,
yeah,
and then it's like, okay, well, oh well, now I have to like take care of this child and it's all my responsibility. And
mhm,
so it is very stressful, like driving a kid home from the hospital.
yeah,
When my first kid was born, I drove like 30 miles an hour home, and my second kid I drove probably normal, but
yeah,
but all of those things do really kind of like start to add up. And the big point that they come to in that
mhm,
scene where Glenn kidnaps the baby and Ricky is just like, hey, life is horrible. And he's like, but? He's like, no, there's no but. That's it. But that's all that there is. That's really the truth. And like, that's the truth that you really have to come to is like, yes, obviously, if an infant's crib is squeaking, you should fix that,
Yeah.
right? But there's only so much stuff that you can do. And then life is out of your hands, you know?
Right. Only so many fires that you can put out at once.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
So we talked about him a little bit, but Michael Cera as Glenn,
Mm-hmm.
how'd you feel about him?
I really liked Michael Cera in this. I think I felt like he was kind of like getting out of like those traditional Michael Cera roles where it's kind of like he's still kind of like the nerdy guy, but it's also I don't know. I appreciated like the way he dressed in this and just like the way he was more of the straight guy, and then Michael Angarano's character was kind of like wacky and insane and stuff like that. I don't know. I kind of appreciated this kind of like more laid back like version of like Michael Cera for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, he's not talking like a mile a minute like
mm-hmm.
we've seen him do in a few other roles. He's so when they're at the bar and they're talking to the two ladies
Mm-hmm.
and he taps his wedding ring on
Yeah,
the bottle. It's like, as if that like needed to happen.
Yeah. It's like, just let you know, I'm taken.
Mm-hmm. But I could relate to him a little bit, like when they wake up the next morning and they're all gone at the farmer's market and they come back and he has like cleaned up the whole house. I was like, ooh, I'm a little bit like that too. When they're at Tally's house.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like looking around the kitchen and he sees like scissors and like a smoke detector that's been removed.
Yeah.
And so that causes him. Now, this was like the biggest surprise, I guess, of the movie is Glenn decides to kidnap Tally's baby. What are you thinking as this is happening?
I was thinking like, oh no, like Glenn's having a panic attack and he's like he thinks that this baby's in this unsafe environment, so he's in super dad mode because he's about to have a kid. So he's like he thinks that he knows more than anyone. And I feel like I mentioned before, I feel like that scene could be real tense and real upsetting to witness like on screen, just because he's kidnapping a child that isn't his. And but I think just the way they shoot it, it's real funny too, because the way he just Michael Cera's physical comedy in in that scene where he picks up the keys and just like, oh, time to go, just kind of picks her. And when he's driving the car and like they stop at the 4-way stop and he's just like, no, you go, and he gets out of the car and just like it's real funny. And even like Tally stealing freaking Ricky's scooter. It's just like as she's trying to chase down Glenn. It's real. It's like an insane sequence for sure. So
it's really insane, and it goes to such a dark place while keeping everything very funny. And I can see a really big criticism of this movie being like, okay, let's just excuse, middle-aged white dudes' behavior because they're funny or because they're a little depressed or whatever, right? Because both of them do. I mean, kidnapping a baby is a horrible, insane, criminal thing to do. While also abandoning your baby is a horrible thing so both of them have done like really horrible, terrible things. And the only way you can justify it is saying, well, yeah, they're mentally not okay, but but this movie is not looking to be like an indictment of them. It's a comedy, and it's trying to show us in their absurdities, perhaps things that lie within ourselves. And hopefully we can recognize these things and fix them before we get to the point that either of them are in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was shocked. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. And then I was like, what's going to happen? Like, is this going to suddenly turn into like a different kind of movie? And like,
Mm-hmm.
Glenn is going to get arrested or they're going to die or like, yeah, it was pretty nuts. Did you have any other favorite like scenes or moments or gags from the movie?
I already mentioned it, but just the car impound like scene, just the way Ricky sets up the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
where it just and this because Glenn is hungover at this point because he has
Mm-hmm.
sunglasses on. He's just like leaning back, and you just see like in the background of the shot, like Ricky just like talking to like, oh, you should tow this tow this car.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's so funny. It's so funny because it's Ricky was just trying to get them to stay one more day, and yeah, it's just it's I think that was a standout scene for me for sure. Besides, like all the kind of like Sacramento landmarks, where I'm like, hey, I know that spot, but
Yeah, that's a good one. I loved all the therapy scenes. I thought that
Mhm.
those were great. And I was a big fan of the fight scene when they go to the gym
Oh yeah,
and the lighting kind of changes
mhm,
and they're just fighting and using their physicality to be funny
mhm.
and then later on when they have their like actual fight and it's just so pathetic.
Yeah, they're
It's
like,
just yeah.
I think he has them in like a headlock, and they're just like, oh, I'm tired.
Yes,
that's
yes.
that's how 30-year-olds fight. Like
Yes,
they,
absolutely.
like it's not like any of these other movies where they're like super into it and like throwing each other on the ground. Like that's just like, oh, I'm out of breath.
Yeah.
You want to
Hmm.
take a break?
Hmm.
Like it's yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost too real.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I don't think that long-term male friendships need to ever devolve into fighting.
mhm,
But when you've been friends with someone for years and years and years and years, sometimes you need to have a confrontation
mhm.
and kind of reevaluate where you are because one friend assumes, hey, things are the same as they've always been. And the other friend is like, no, no, my life is very different. And I like how they even explore that in a small way with the friend that Glenn keeps calling, his old college roommate.
Mhm.
And he's trying to pretend that he has a friend and that everything's okay. And then when we hear from him, he is treating Glenn the way that Glenn is treating Ricky. Where he's like, yeah, our last interaction wasn't great, and I don't really know, if I want to continue this thing. And so, yeah, unfortunately, maybe your confrontation will come in the form of a fight. Maybe not. I don't know.
A fight or just a slap. A slap in the
Sure,
face also works. Just
just a
like
single, just a single slap.
it's
That's
like,
right. That's right.
hey, don't abandon your kid. Just
Yes.
like,
Hey. Yes.
hey, don't kidnap my kid.
Yeah.
But don't kidnap my kid. Wait,
Hmm.
but you left your kid for like
Yeah.
5 years
Yeah.
or a couple of years.
Bad,
Actually.
bad people, and that's why I said it kind of reminded me of watching a film from the 70s. I thought of two films. One was Five Easy Pieces with Jack
Mhm,
Nicholson, and the other one was Midnight Run, which
mhm,
is not the 70s, but Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin are
mhm,
just so funny,
mhm.
so funny together. And obviously, that's a kind of odd couple road movie, very very different plot, but yeah, those were the two. I was like, oh my god, it's a movie about guys who suck.
Mhm. That's
Those are the
funny,
best kinds of movies.
right? Mhm.
Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
No. Well, I do kind of want to bring up that I was invited to the premiere because it premiered at
Whoa.
the Tower Theater, but I unfortunately did not go because I was seeing David Lynch's Mulholland Drive instead.
Oh, sure, sure, sure.
So there was only the Tower Theater is like a huge is like a big independent like theater and all pretty much I think if people go to my Instagram, I have pictures of it and people can check it out. But it's a real nice historic theater, and Micheal Angarano was there, and then his writer Christopher Smith was there as well. They did like a Q&A, and it was just really cool seeing kind of the two of them just kind of like doing their little media tour, like here in
Mm-hmm.
Sacramento at all the television studios, and yeah, it's like not a lot of stuff happens here in Sacramento. So when
Sure.
something like this comes out, like with like big stars in it, like everyone's just kind of like, huh? It's like
Yeah.
this, yeah,
Yeah, I saw on their Instagram story that they were given the key to the city of
yeah,
Sacramento. It's like,
which is
wow.
it's real funny. I think Greta Gerwig that directed Lady Bird, she also got the key of the city for a few days as
That's
well.
always
But
such a funny kind of nothing.
yeah,
Like, what do you do with the key to a city?
well, I don't know.
Do
Like,
you walk into a barber shop and be like, hey,
you
open
gotta
up?
give me a haircut. It's like drinks on me. I got the
Right,
key to the
exactly.
city.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's nice, it's nice that a city has an expression of gratitude and honor
Yeah,
for different people, but it's just like, what am I going to do with this?
right. Yeah, it's definitely a weird kind of like gesture, but I don't know. It's big, and also like this is the only film that shot here. That new PTA movie also shot here as well. I think
Oh, cool.
what's it called? The
One war, one battle after another,
yeah
battle after battle, war after war. I don't know.
the one with Leo DiCaprio,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, Leo DiCaprio, and he's like a military guy, but it shot here as well. So it's Sacramento's coming up as like kind of like a film heavy like city. So and
Nice.
I'm glad just because probably get to go to more premieres. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Very. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, I think for too long there's been a stranglehold on production, and
hmm
I like to see that things are moving to Atlanta, and obviously things have always been shot in New York, but
hmm
that's how it should be. People should be able to make things different places, and you shouldn't have to move to one place to make everything.
yeah. And it was also nice too that Christopher Smith and Micheal Angarano like because they said that they had the idea for the script about uh, like a year or two ago, and they basically um, road tripped up to Sacramento so they can do some research on it. They did like bar hopping on K Street, which is like the main street like here, and kind of just explored the city. So it's just kind of cool that they're contributing to the local economy, and they say that Sacramento is like the hidden gem of California, which everyone likes to uh, call that. And I feel like the movie actually gets that across like really
Mm.
well because there's I like the the scene with the mermaid, like when they go to the dive
Oh
bar.
yeah, that was cool.
That's a legitimate bar, like in downtown Sacramento, where they have live mermaids. Like
Wow.
I think every weekend, not every day, but it's a cool, just kind of like just it's cool to see that as like a resident.
The only other thing I want to mention very, very quickly is just the score and the soundtrack. I thought was really great.
Hmm
I thought it was like very like understated, not like super aggressive in your face needle drops,
hmm
but it had good character. I thought so. All right.
It's the type of sound and music that I expect with like a road trip movie like this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's very classic and like for like a buddy comedy.
And
For
then,
sure.
did you notice that they were listening to Stuff You Should Know, the podcast?
Really?
Yes,
In the
yes.
car?
In the car, they're driving, and first you hear Chuck from Stuff You Should Know, and then they show the car driving from a different angle, and then you hear Josh from Stuff You Should Know talking. They're talking
That's
about, there's some
funny.
episode about like infectious diseases or something like that, but I was like, oh my god, a podcast in a movie.
Especially since lately, like podcasters have been getting kind of a bad rap in
Mm-hmm.
movies because, like, I don't know if you watch well, it's not a movie, but a TV show, but the Only Murders in the Building.
No.
Like they're podcasters, but like I always have to side eye like, are they podcasters? Because I don't see them uploading anything or posting on social media. They're just kind of
Right.
like recording with mics and like, oh, they're podcasting because they got microphones in their face. So it's like,
Right.
yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Marley, thank you for joining me. Where can people find you on the internet?
Thanks for having me, Seth. If people, I always say at the end of every podcast, if people aren't annoyed by me, but after listening to me for like for an hour plus, you can follow me pretty much everywhere on social media with the username at Marley Loves Film. Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube are the kind of like the main platforms for that. But I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm usually kind of like double posting stuff on social media and talking about movies. But I got a website, thereallivers.com, where you can listen to the podcast there as well, with social media kind of in a state of flux. But
Sure.
people should check out thereallivers.com because I also I write about movies there as well. So yeah.
All right. Very cool. Yeah, you should definitely give Marley a follow. Check out the show. Check out the website. And like he said earlier, if you're not tired of listening to us, I've been on the show. I did an episode with you on The Lion King.
Yeah. the Lion King. You've also done The Happening. It will be out Monday.
Oh, very
this
cool.
Monday.
Okay.
So everyone should go check that one out after listening to us talk about Sacramento. Hear us talk about M. Night Shyamalan.
Philadelphia.
Yeah. Philadelphia.
Well, hey, thank you very much for listening. Wherever you are listening, please consider taking your time, which is precious. It's the only real wealth that you have in this world. Please take a minute of your time to give us a rating and a review. Remember, we are trying to beat Jamie Kennedy's podcast in the Apple Podcast reviews. And whenever that happens, I will get a tattoo of the number. So looking forward to that. Also, send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com.
Not to interrupt your closing, but I'm going to do a call to action. If you get 20 reviews after this episode, I will... this is off the top of my head.
Sure.
What should I do? What should I do?
You should drink 3/4 of a gallon of milk in less than an
hour. Sure. Okay.
All right, there you go.
Right,
because 1 gallon will make you puke, but 3/4,
okay,
you just won't feel good.
Yeah. So 20 reviews by.
All right, that would be a lot.
Yeah.
But hey, we can hope.
Yeah.
Send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about Sacramento. Please, if you have seen the movie, we really would like to know what you thought. You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to all of our additional shows, our patron-only Discord. You get to vote on upcoming episodes and monthly themes, and a bunch of stuff. Too much stuff, quite frankly. But you also get to support an independent podcast, which has been your goal, I think, since you were a young child. Anyway, Marley, thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And the last thing I'll say, visit Sacramento. Like,
there you go.
It's a cool town.
Hey,
so
just like that old man said at my screening, let's all take a road trip there.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Theme music by Jean Marie Vargas. Visit us at our website, moviefriendspodcast.com, and please subscribe and rate our show wherever you are listening. You can support Movie Friends at patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Thanks for listening.